All right, what we're going to show here today is the proper installation of the GM 2011-2012 diesel PowerSteps. What you're looking at here is the way it should look when it's all done. Nice even gap along the body, pulled up tight close to the body, a small gap at each end where the end cap is so there's no contact with the body. And you will notice in the front there is a slight larger gap than the rest of the board, and that's due to the body shape. It turns in and under at that point. But this is the way it should look. Now what we're going to do is show you some things where people run into some problems on the install, and that due mainly to not reading the instructions, but we're going to walk you through this. A common problem after install is the board will be pulled away from the body in the front, or it can be tight in the front, pulled away in the rear, or just in general not straight. What we're going to do is show you here what's going to have to be done. We're going to have to loosen all the linkages. We're going to remove the board, and there's a few steps we're going to go through just to ensure everything is correct. All right, the first thing we're going to do to correct the problem is we're going to remove the running board itself from the linkages. 2 Allen bolts at each linkage, remove them. Remove the board. Maybe a slight tap needed to remove the board from the linkage because it will be a tight fit. Once the board's removed, then we're going to loosen the linkages next. Okay, once the running board's been removed, ensure that your T-nuts slide freely in the board. If these are tight at all, they've got to be made fit. All right, we're going to remove our front idler linkage and the rear motor linkage. Actually, we're going to loosen them so that they just jiggle and set loose on the body. So go ahead and loosen your rear mount bolt and the front. There we go. Just a little bit of jiggles, all we wanted them, so they can float around. All right, for the rear linkage, if everything's been installed, you'll have to remove the motor in order to loosen this linkage to access this bolt. So remove the motor, loosen these bolts to match the front. Just jiggle loose on the body, just where they'll rattle. All right, removing the front bolt, loosen it up. There we go. Just jiggle this around. Now the linkages are both free. All right, once you've verified your T-nuts are free, they slide, remount your board to both linkages. You're going to start your 1/4 20 Allen bolts at both ends. All right, we're ready to do our torquing sequence. At this point, the 2 bolts on the passenger side, if you read your instructions, first 2 you tighten are these 2 here, 10 foot-pounds of torque. This will be your second bolt you'll tighten, right here at the adapter. All right, so we'll tighten these. Second bolt we've torqued, we'll torque to 13 foot-pounds. And then we're going to go to the body mount bolt, and that'll torque at 44 foot-pounds. That's the third bolt you tighten. Has to be tightened in this sequence. One of the main things to pay attention to on this retorque on this is that after each bolt is tightened and torqued, that you lift the board, make sure it drops free. It has to drop all the way down to the bottom. If it slowly comes down or stops, there's still a bind. We've got to probably at that point we'll use the shims. But tighten, drop. We're going to retorque that final body bolt in the rear, 44 foot-pounds on this. Make sure you do not put an air gun on this. That's not what we want to use. It's tempting because that's how you removed it, but we don't want to do that on the torquing procedure. Again, after torquing to 44 foot-pounds on the rear body mount bolt, check, make sure she drops free. All right, we're going to move to the rear. All right, we're going to bring this first bolt we're going to tighten in the rear, we're going to bring to 16 foot-pounds. All right, then we're going to move to the rear bolt, same thing, 16 foot-pounds, but after tightening that bolt again, make sure she stays free, drops all the way to the bottom. Good and free. Now we'll move to the rear bolt, same thing, 16 foot-pounds on it. That's the second bolt, and she's still free. Now we'll tighten the last 2 bolts on the bottom of the running board, 10 foot-pounds. All right, last 2 bolts, 1/4 20 Allen bolts on the bottom, 10 foot-pounds of torque. All right, again, she stays free. That's what we're looking for, no binds. And what we're finding is if these bolts are not torqued in this sequence, or if they're over-torqued, or an air gun is used, what happens is it stretches, twists, and distorts everything in here, and this system will bind. When it binds, it will not pull all the way up. The motor will shut itself off before it comes up. All right, we're going to reinstall the motor now and test. All right, after the retorque, board's up. We should have a slight gap at each end of the board where the end cap meets the body. As you come down the body, nice straight line. And you should have a slight gap at the front of the body due to the body build. And that's it. Bind removed, board stowed properly.